Hello everyone. Hi, how are you guys doing today? Welcome to the Angel Cast Season 3. Is this right? That's fine. Hello. What's up? We're talking about Angel Season 3 today. Before we go any deeper, I should let you guys know, because maybe some of you don't, probably most of you, that you can actually watch my reactions to Angel Seasons 1, 2, and now 3 actually just on YouTube. You can do that. So the way I decided to do this, and I announced this at the beginning of Season 6 of Buffy, and I'm doing it now here because it's the most relevant, and it's that you can actually watch my reactions to Angel pretty much after I finish the season. So when this comes out, my entire reaction catalog of Angel Season 3 will be available on YouTube. However, because usually my Angel reactions, they're really watch-alongs, because I don't really edit those very much. They are usually just reserved for Patreon. That's the way I've been doing it. But the happy medium I think I reach is that at the end of the season, I'll just make that available on YouTube anyway. And then you can join in for the next season if you want, and you can watch it as I go through them. But right now, Season 3 should be up on YouTube. However, you might have difficulty finding it. And the reason for that is because those videos are not public. They are unlisted. But what that means is that you can still find it if you go to my channel and you click on like the playlist, and then you scroll and see Angel, and then you click on that and everything will be there. In fact, I might make a new playlist that is just Angel Season 3, so it's easier to find. However, the way those videos work is that they're not reactions, they're watch-alongs. So that means that you can watch it alongside me, and you can find maybe a link in the description that will send you to a website in which you don't need to have the episode yourself. And that's as much as I will say. But it will just be me and the full episodes. And after each episode, I do have like a little bit of a discussion there. So it's really like an hour per episode where I just watch it and then I say some stuff about it. And now you have 22 of those to go through if you want to. So yeah, Angel Season 3, that's where it is. If you want to see my reactions to that, it's there. You can find it. Now, let's talk about the whole season. Because this is what we do here in the Angel Cast. So, I'm just gonna get this out of the way right here. I like Season 3 a lot. It's my favorite so far. Seasons 1, 2, pretty good. But Season 3 is where it's at, I think. And the reason for that, I think I've been thinking about it. But I think the reason why I really like Season 3 a lot more than the other two, I say a lot, but it makes it sound negative towards the other seasons. That's not the way I meant it, but it's just like I really like this one. And the reason why I really like this one is because so much shit happens. It's not like there's like a clear plot that you're anticipating exactly where it's gonna go, or any character in the show is anticipating exactly the way it's gonna go, because the way plots that are season long usually work, not usually but often work, is that there is some kind of big bad, or there's some kind of like big problem, and we're building towards that. Season 3 feels like it's just sprawling in front of you, and it's just like so many random happenstances that end up leading into a very specific place. Because, and I will start listing things off here so we can kind of follow where exactly this goes. Because, okay, Season 3 of Angel starts with Angel was fucked up after Buffy died, but then he came back. But that's really quickly just moved on from. Really, where it starts is that Darla's pregnant because Angel fucked her last season, because Angel had a rough time last season and he fucked Darla. Darla's pregnant. We still have no clue why. We still have no idea why and Angel and Darla were able to have a child, because vampires shouldn't be able to have children, but that did occur, and it is a literal human child. So no clue what that means, but we're really going forward with this pregnancy thing. Darla wants to abort it, and she's unable to. Eventually, she comes back, and we have this whole thing of like, you made me pregnant, and Angel is like going through a crisis of like, oh god, I got my ex pregnant, but also I'm gonna be a father. I never expected that to occur in the like hundreds of years I've been alive. I kind of gave up on that idea after I became this. Then it becomes about protecting Darla. But okay, let's talk about Holtz, because then what's happening on the side is that there is a random demon with the name of Sajan, who just like mysteriously just appears sometimes, and he's on the sidelines, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna appear in front of this random guy from like 150 years ago, which is Holtz, who was a vampire hunter in England back in the day, hunting for Angelus. And Angelus killed his entire family. So he has a lot of hatred and vitriol for Angelus. He has this vengeance in his heart. He didn't just kill his entire family, he also converted them. So converted his like daughter. So that was bad. But what this demon does to Sajan is that he goes and finds Holtz in the past, and then he time travels him to the future. So in the future, Holtz can hunt down Angel and Darla. We don't know why, but that happens. Angel and Darla are going through the idea of like, oh god, we're gonna have a child. There is a cult that I just remember existed about this child. So that's, oh god, that's probably gonna come back in the future, isn't it? Anyway, so there's this cult. They're trying to protect her from that cult, and then they have to protect him from Holtz, who shows up like the fucking Terminator, but like short. And then Holtz doesn't kill them. He sees Angel holding a baby and running away, and he just lets him go. And you're sitting there and thinking to yourself, like, does Holtz have a heart? Like, it does that part of his humanity is still there, that he wouldn't kill that child. And then it's like, actually no, he's still going hard on the vengeance thing. You don't know to what degree he had humanity in that moment, but what he does is that he heel turns on Sajan, and he decides, fuck you, I'm gonna do my own thing. So he goes and finds a random woman who had been a second-hand victim of vampirism, in that a vampire killed her twin sister. God, I just thought of something. Anyway, so her sister died, so then this woman was able to be seduced to the dark side by Holt, by essentially him being like, hey, I'm gonna give you a new purpose, and your purpose is that we're gonna kill vampires together. And there's like one specific vampire I'm gonna kill, and it's this fucking Angel guy. So we're just gonna go and we're gonna kill him. And then this woman named Justine, at first she doesn't really know what to do with that, but eventually she's like all in. And then they start their own vampire hating club, training people who have been victims of vampires, or second-hand victim of vampires, vampire survivors. Great game, by the way. And trains them so that they hate Angel and gonna go and try and kill him alongside all vampires. Cool. I don't know why Holtz is doing this, but he's doing it. Then I do think it's a very cool idea, by the way. I do think it's great. But then the plan is revealed that Holtz wants to kidnap the baby and then raise him as his own, because the ultimate revenge would be for him to take Angel's child just the way that Angel took his. Okay, I'm following, that's cool. How do we accomplish this? Well, there's a prophecy that Wesley finds about that Angel is going to kill his own child. And then Wesley goes all over the place and tries to confirm, fact check to the best of his ability, like, is this gonna happen? And from what he hears, that seems to be the case. Angel and his child are gonna they're gonna come into conflict. Like, he even went and talked to a god hamburger. Don't worry about it, but he went and talked to a god hamburger and the god hamburger told him, like, yeah, he's gonna drink his child's blood. Wink. So Wesley is like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to kidnap this baby, because there is the possibility that Angel is gonna go evil and just fucking kill his own child. So I'm gonna take care of this child. I'm Uncle Wesley, and the only way out I can see is that I can make sure that this doesn't happen by keeping Angel and the child as far away as possible from one another. Psych! That was a trap by Sajan, who time traveled to the past and created a bogus prophecy that Wesley would see in the future, so the prophecy wasn't even true. And also in doing so, he guaranteed that Holtz would take the baby, because they just slit Wesley's throat. And then when they take the baby, but then Angel finds them, as well as Wolfram Hart finds them, because Lila's here, by the way, she still exists. And then Sajan shows up and he's like, what the fuck are all of you doing, motherfuckers? And he's like, I'm tired of this shit. And he opens a portal to Super Hell, And he's like, all right, I'm gonna fuck the whole planet. I'm gonna fuck everything here because you need to kill that goddamn baby. Yeah, that's the plan. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about anything else. I wanted you to kill Darla because the baby would not be born. But now that the baby has been born, I want you to kill that fucking baby, and you didn't. So fuck you, Holtz. We're all going to super hell. And then Holtz is like, all right, you know what? And then he grabs the baby, runs into the portal, and jumps to super hell himself, holding the baby. Then we enter a moment in which Sergeant goes like, well, I guess that works. They're fucking dead. Wolf and McCart is like, well, I don't know what happened. Lila's like, fuck it, who cares? And then Angel is like, oh fuck, my arch enemies just stole my baby and jumped to super hell. They're probably dead. So then he feels like shit about it. Then they find out how this all occurred, and they find out that Wesley betrayed them, kind of, because they didn't know that the prophecy was bogus until later. So then Angel wants to kill Wesley, and he almost succeeds. They stop him, and then Wesley is out of the main cast, and he just feels sad and miserable by his house, and where he will remain for the rest of the season. But when they jump to super hell, they survive, and they spend a long time in super hell, time in which Holtz and Connor, Angel's baby, grew older. And Connor shows up back again after Angel opened a satanic portal to super hell, an attempt to do so, and it failed, but then it worked. And Connor shows back up, and he's like, hi dad, and he pulls out a gun and shoots them and tries to kill him. And then he runs away into Los Angeles. He encounters a drug addict woman, saves her life, and then she dies that same night because she took too much cocaine or whatever. I don't know what drug she was. I think it was like her. She was shooting it up. So yeah, sure. She did the drugs and then she died. And Connor felt really sad about it because it was the first person that he met that it was like nice to him and cool, and also a woman. And he was like, this is weird. And then she just immediately dies. And then Angel shows up and he's like, hey son, let's talk. And then Connor is like, fuck you, I hate you. And they try to kill each other. Well, Connor tries to kill Angel. He fails. They fight. And then the cops show up. And the drug dealer shows up. And then the cops show up, and then we had reminded that cops are bastards, so they become the antagonists. We bond together over cop hatred. But then it turns out that Holtz is also here. Holtz came back to the portal as well, and Holtz is older. And then we spend an entire episode wondering if Holtz is bad or not. And then it turns out that Holtz is actually good now, because Holtz raised a child, and he initially thought that I'm gonna raise this child to be hatred incarnate to kill his father, but then he's like, actually, I like this child. This child is cool. I really like this kid. So at some point, the plan of I'm gonna raise this kid out of spite became, I just genuinely love this kid. So then now that he's here and he's an old man and he's falling apart and he's looking at Connor going through a rebellious teenage phase, but also stuck in LA in a new world, and he's having first interactions with his real father. Holtz is like, you know what, son, like, all of the shit that I said to you, you know, like, it doesn't matter. Like, actually, you know, like, you should go to him. You should seek your answers, you know? Like, you have a place here. I cannot give you a place anymore, you know? Like, I'm old and I'm about to die, probably. He's planning to kill himself, but he doesn't say that. But he's encouraging Connor to go and hang out with Angel. And Connor is like, no, that guy is evil. But then we spend an entire, like, a good amount of time trying to figure out what the relationship is going to be like. And it seems like it's going to be positive. And then Holtz kills himself. And in killing himself, Connor believes that Angel is the one that killed him because that is what Justine told him. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure on that one. And then Connor is like, I'm going to kill my dad. But then we spent the entire last episode with Connor tricking Angel, and then eventually planning and succeeding in locking him away in a coffin and sending him at the bottom of the ocean like Dio. And that's where the season ended. So, I just gave a full season recap. Here's the thing about the season recap. And it's that so much shit happens because... And that's something I really like. And what I mean by that is that, why was Darla pregnant? Because... Okay, cool. Like, we don't actually have an answer to that yet, but it just happens. Then, because she's pregnant and she's about to have this child, Sajan is like, I want the child dead. Why did Sajan want the child dead? Well, we find out later that it's because Sajan read a prophecy that child was going to kill him. So then Sajan is like, well, I'm a time-traveling, time-shifting, reality-bending demon or whatever, and I don't want to die. So now that I have the ability to know who's gonna kill me, what is the best thing to do? Well, the best thing to do would be to kill that person before they're born. So then he concocts this entire plan to try and kill Connor before he kills Sajan, and the way he does that is by going in time and finding the person that would hate Angel the most and would have the most reason to kill this child, and then being like, hey, you kill that child, and then he doesn't. Holtz doesn't go through with it and doesn't kill the child, which makes Sergeant go like, what the fuck, man? But now Holtz is stuck in the present, and now Holtz is doing his own thing, and he decides, I'm gonna raise the child, I'm gonna kidnap him. And by kidnapping him, he also ensures that he jumps into the portal and takes Connor with him, which allows Connor to grow up in Super Hell. And the only reason why Connor grew up in Super Hell is because Silent created the portal that would send them to Super Hell. And the reason why all of this happened to begin with is also because Sajan fucked with the prophecy to make Wesley believe that Angel was gonna eat Connor. But all of this, the Sajan has hands in the pie to make that happen. Like, he didn't actually want any of that to happen because Holtz is doing his own roguish thing, completely fueled and motivated by his own like feelings that he has for Angel and vengeance, and then later for love for Connor. Sergeant doesn't have any say in any of this. Sergeant doesn't matter. But then when Holtz comes back, it turns out that Holtz doesn't want Connor to fight Angel. He doesn't hate Angel that much anymore. And Angel is having this moment of like realizing like, okay, kind of similar situation they both have going on with one another, where like Angel realizes that he did so many fucked up things to Holtz, and they kind of have an understanding there. But then Connor, because of a bunch of circumstance, which is, okay, Holtz died because he wanted to die, but then Justine lied to him. Maybe, I don't know if Justine was real, makes Connor decide to want to kill Angel, or not kill him, but throw him at the bottom of the ocean, imprison him forever, or maybe 6 months. we'll see what happens next season, because there is the next season, ultimately. And Connor becomes the main antagonist, not because of Sajan, not because of Holtz, not because of Angel, maybe because of Justine or Wolfram and I don't know who was pulling the strings. I don't know if there were strings to be pulled. Maybe Connor was just emotionally unstable because his father number 1 died and he's going through it. And he's also a superhuman. That's also something that we just get to see, and we don't know the extent of that. Connor has superpowers. He's a superhero. I don't know exactly what that does for him, but that's something that is there. And that's why the end of the season is the end of the season. Also, Cordelia became God or something, and then she left. She ascended. She's Jesus now. She's with Jesus. And that's season 3 of Angel. And I love that because you don't know exactly where it's going to go. You can kind of call a shot, which is like, you know, when Connor got kidnapped by Holtz, I'm like, they're going to come back. And then they did come back. Because it would be narratively unsatisfactory to not have those things resolved. But then they came back, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I kind of predicted that it would be like this. But it wasn't really... No, I didn't really know exactly which direction it was going to go. And when Connor shows up and he's like, I'm going to kill your dad, I'm like, okay, Holtz trained him to want to kill him. But now, then later we find out that Holtz is like, no, actually, I'm cool with him. You should go to him and you should have a life together. Because like, I care about you and I want you to be happy, and I care you that you have a place to belong to, because I can't give you one anymore. And that's very wholesome, and that's not the direction I thought it was going to go, but it's very cool and I really enjoy it. But all of that happens because of Sajan, and because of Wesley, and because of Holtz deciding that he wanted to do that. But like, it's so many different and that also all happens because Darla got pregnant for I don't know what reason. We still don't know that. The fates work in mysterious ways, but that's so many like different things that just kind of happen that end up leading into a different situation that just kind of happens. And it ends in like a maximum tragedy, ultimately. Like, I really like that. Because I think that, I will say this. I don't know if there's like a grander plan that, you know, Connor or Steven, I don't know what his fucking name is. If he's a pawn of and what's happening to Angel is happening because somebody planned for it to happen. I don't know if that's the case. And if it is, I would find it somewhat disappointing, because in a similar way of something that I really like about season 6. This is something I really like about season 6, and it's the one good thing that I really like about Tara's death, is that in season 6 of Buffy it really has this feeling of like the world is just kind of shit sometimes. You know, life just kind of sucks sometimes, and you just kind of have to deal with that. Angel season 3 also kind of has something similar to that, which is like sometimes things just happen. You know, Sajan didn't plan for this, but he pulled all the strings for this to occur, but this wasn't what he planned. And in fact, his motivation ultimately doesn't matter. Like, in a different season, in a different story, Sajan will be the big bad that would be pulling the strings and he would be manipulating everybody. But that's not the case. He pulls the strings that set the table, and then he like trips and falls and dies. And like, he doesn't matter. He just ultimately doesn't. And then Holtz just is here because of Sajan, and Holtz is a very important figure for everything that happens. But then Holtz also just kind of dies. Holtz, like, even before he dies, Holtz doesn't even want to fight anymore. He doesn't hate Angel anymore. He's just like, I care about Connor. I want that boy to be happy. But then the set of circumstances and the specific like place where Connor is at mentally and emotionally, and also what happens with Justine, maybe. And the reason why I keep saying Justine maybe is because I don't know if Justine is real at the end of the season, at the end of the final episode, because Justine and Connor kind of lock Angel in a waterproof coffin and throw him at the bottom of the ocean, and that's his punishment. But like, at one of the final shots, it's like Connor looks to the side and he sees Justine, and they're like looking at one another, and then Connor turns back again to the ocean and seeing Angel just fade away. And then there's this big pan out shot of just the boat, and it's just Connor. I don't think Justine is there, and maybe it's because the shot was too dark and I just didn't see her. But Justine wasn't there. It was just Connor looking at the distance, and Justine wasn't there. And 2 shots previously, Justine was next to him. So I'm like, was she real? Did he imagine that shit? And the other thing I want to point out is that as he's fading away in the big pan out shot, Connor is standing there and he's looking at Angel fade into the distance. And behind him, in like the boat controls, there's some like green lightning going on. And I'm like, okay, I have multiple choices here. 1, Justine teleported, and that's the after effect of the teleportation. 2, Justine wasn't there. And maybe the green lightning was Connor's superhuman powers, because we don't know the extent of them, piloting the boat. And everything that he's doing is partially him just losing his mind and also doing superpower shit. And I don't know, 3, Wolfram and Hart is involved, because it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. And Wolfram and Hart has some kind of like magician in like fucking with Connor and making Connor do all this shit and making him believe that it was Justine or something like that. I don't know. And 4, that I just thought about, Justine had a twin sister that was killed by vampires, allegedly, but we never saw that happen. So I don't know, maybe Justine's twin sister is still around, and maybe she's a vampire magician hired by Wolfram and Hart. I have no fucking idea. So maybe the Justine that we saw wasn't Justine, it was Justine's sister. I don't know, that could happen. So all I said was just giving you a guys recap, and we're almost half an hour in. I don't know how I'm gonna edit this, but season 3 of Angel is really cool because it doesn't feel formulaic. I suppose. And what I mean formulaic, I suppose what I really mean is that a normal story following normal story beats would be like introduction, some kind of conflict, and then resolution. But season 3 of Angel is just like, hey, we have the pregnancy thing, we have the Sajan and Holtz thing, then it just becomes a Holtz thing, Holtz and Justine, and then we jump to Super Hell, and now Connor's back, and then actually Connor is very emotionally unstable, Holtz is actually kind of cool now, but then tragedy happens, Justine may be a liar because she felt too strongly about Holtz and what Holtz did to her, or maybe she puts the blame on Angel for what happened because she's a very emotionally unstable, or maybe that wasn't Justine at all. Connor is a superhuman now, Wolfram and Hart hates everybody, so it could be that. I don't fucking know. And then tragedy happens. And also Cordelia became Jesus. that was also going on in the background, by the way. It's so many things that like you wouldn't connect point 1 to point like 7, you know? Like when you follow each step individually, it makes sense. But you have no fucking idea that where you start or where you're gonna end up, like the way it's gonna go exactly, because there's so many moving pieces that are not planning for the next step to be the next step. They are planning for something different, and then this is just what happens to occur. That is why I love it. That is why I really, really love this season. Okay, now I'm going in circles. I think I already established that. Now, let's talk about some maybe highlights of characters, moments. I don't want to make this video super long, but let's just go and see where it leads us. This season, Angel, like Angel the character, I like him better than previous season. Because Angel previous season had a moment where he just like went crazy for like, I don't know, like 7-8 episodes, and it was weird, and it ended up culminating in this moment of like a crisis of faith, and then trying to bounce back and trying to be good again, and having sex. And this happened after the post-nut clarity of fucking Darla. And that was really cool. I think that was awesome. But at the end of the day, like, it really gave me this idea of like Angel as a character, of like, why is he spiraling so hard? And I didn't like, I got it narratively wise, I got it, but I also felt like Angel the character wouldn't really do that, you know? Like, I mean, I understood why, but it felt a little disconnected. It felt like I was looking at the idea for the season in the writer's room, and they were like, okay, so this season Angel is gonna be like really bad for like half the season. He's gonna be like really uncaring and evil, but he's not gonna be Angelus. It's gonna be Dark Angel. And they were like, okay, we're gonna do that. So it feels like they're going in that direction, but I don't really fully believe that Angel would make the decision to turn in that direction. It just feels like the writer made that decision for him, and then we just see him going in that direction specifically, and I'm like, why? And it's just like, well, because it's interesting conflict. And I'm like, okay, I kind of follow that, but I feel like it could be handled a little smoother. That transition could have been a little smoother than it actually was. That's the way I felt. This season, though, season 3 Angel, I liked it a lot. And the reason why is because in this season, Angel, the character, he's experiencing what it's like to actually be a father, and you can see how he's having so many emotions that he never had before. And you can see how he's like trying to figure himself out. And that is a very fun spot to be at, honestly. Like, I really like that. You can see him being happier, chippier, like more fun. You can see him being a little bit more clever. Like he's really starting to feel himself. And then you can see how whenever Connor goes away, he goes back to being brooding. He's also a lot more hateful and spiteful, which is, I suppose, a little different from the usual. But it feels like we return back to an Angel that we kind of know about, which is, you know, brooding, sad, just with a side of anger and vengeance. But I do like the moments that we see with him actually caring about his son and wanting to have a good life with his son, which ultimately doesn't end up happening. But we do get to see all those moments, and I think that those are really cool moments for Angel as a character that we never got to see before. It's fun to see Angel going from like brooding guy to actually like, I'm trying to be a fun dad. I think that is really fun. I think that's really compelling. I really like that as a character move. So Angel as a character, I think this is something pretty good. And I do like that in the final episode, when he's being sealed away in the waterproof coffin, his final words to Connor are like, I love you. Remember that, okay? Your father loves you. Like, he's telling him, like, it doesn't matter what happens or what you're doing to me. I don't fault you for it, okay? I still love you. It's this, like, acceptance of, like, it's okay. Like, I hold no ill will towards you for this, you know? And that's really cool. And I believe that he says that because I saw him being so excited and so happy to have a son and so protective of him in the episodes prior. Like, I understand that is the kind of person that Angel is in this moment, because we spend so much of the season with Angel just wanting to be a cool dad, of Angel actually caring about having a son and being excited and happy for it. And it's this thing in which, like, they make one joke near the end where Angel feels really happy about getting along with his now teenager son and whatever, because they had like a really cool moment they were sharing. He was so chipper. He was like dancing. He was smiling. He was like, oh man, everything's great. And it was a moment in which Fred was like, was it Fred or was it Cordelia? It was somebody being like, oh, you seem happy, but not too happy. And they like smack him a little bit. You know, they hit him with something and he's like, oh, okay. And it's this thing in which like they are making a joke of the idea that Angel cannot be happy, because if he ever is truly happy, then he will revert back to Angelus. Like that is the curse that he has upon him. But I believe that he should have turned at this point. You know, when I see him in that state, I'm like, he's happy. He's truly happy. Like there's not one thing in his mind that should be like something that is bad, that makes him feel bad. Like, he probably still feels so happy in that moment. He probably, like, you're telling me that in the moment in which, like, he's spending time with his son, they were playing around, they were actually playing, and they were laughing together, and they were hanging out, and he was having this moment of, like, so much pride and joy of actually loving his son and spending time with his son, and he knows his son actually likes him. You're telling me that that is less happiness than him just nodding instead of Buffy? You're telling me that that is less happiness than that? I don't know, man. I was gonna say something that would be a little crass, so I'm not gonna say it. I was already a little bit crass earlier, but I don't think that just having sex with somebody that you love, admittedly, is true happiness that is on a level above, like, loving your son and spending time with your son and realizing that you love your son and your son loves you and you're having a joyous moment of playing together. Like, that sounds so much more, like, above whatever it is to just have sex with Buffy. So this takes me to a point that I want to elaborate on, which is whenever they make that joke of, like, you seem happy but not too happy, and they smack it a little bit, like, that shouldn't make a difference. Just, like, smacking you with something, it's like if I'm having the best day of my life and somebody just hits me with, like, a newspaper or whatever, like, whatever they hit him with, like, even if you hit me with, like, a phone or something, I'm like, oh, okay, but, like, that doesn't actually change my mood. You know, like, that's just like a sting, but, like, that doesn't actually fuck my day up. My day is still pretty great. So it's the thing in which, like, to me, it feels like they ran into a problem in the writer's room where they were like, Angel can't be happy. But then they were like, but part of the reason why this would hurt is because he would be happy. He has to know the joy of having a son and caring about a son, and he also has to know the joy of, you know, loving his son and spending time together, and your son loves you. Like that has to be part of the joy, so that the end stings so much more, so that it has to hurt. But he can't ever be happy. How do we do this? And the way they did it is, man, fuck it, who cares? That's the way I look at it. Is that whenever Angel is so happy over Connor and being with Connor, to me, that joke looks like an acknowledgement of something that in any other, like, if you're a super fan and you're looking at it, you might think to yourself, like, but shouldn't he transform because he's happy? Shouldn't Angelus be back here? And when they make that joke, you might look at it and you think to yourself, like, okay, so I suppose it's not that much happiness, you know, because the show is acknowledging that it should occur, but it's not occurring. So I guess it's not. I guess when they hit him a little bit, then that solved the problem. I guess that works. But I don't think that should work, actually. Just based on the rules that we have been given, I don't think that matters. I think that is just the show being like, hey man, in order to tell a good story, Angel has to be happy sometimes. Because restricting Angel to never be truly happy is restricting Angel as a character and the potential for good storytelling, which I think Season 3 is fantastic for this, actually. I think it's restricting it, and I think that they realized that it is restrictive, and they said, fuck it, we're gonna do it anyway, and then we're gonna make a joke about it, whatever, you know, joke of the Angelus curse, woo, don't ask us about it. So they just kind of hand wave it, and that's it. And I think that is the correct decision, because I much prefer for you to tell a good story, a very compelling story of Angel finding happiness in having a son and then losing it. I find that very compelling. I think it's really good. I like that tragedy. And in order to do that, you have to tell a story of Angel being happy. And before, it felt like they were like, oh, he can never be happy, because if he ever is happy, then he will just turn into a vampire. To me, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about that, you know? Like, I'm a big fan of writing forwards. And this is maybe a little bit difficult to explain here, but follow me here. I'm a big fan of writing forwards. And what I mean by that is that I'm a big fan of whenever a story is like, does this make perfect sense with everything that happened before it? I don't fucking know, man. Whatever. I want to tell this story right now, and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of, like, this doesn't have to make perfect sense looking backwards, because this is a fictional world. I don't give a fuck if it makes perfect sense, man. Like, it doesn't have to. It's a world with, like, vampires and ghosts and shit. Like, we don't have to worry that much about realism. Then that means that we don't have to care that much about consistency when we look backwards. So long as we just focus on telling a good story right now. That is my preference when it comes to looking at stories. I'm surrounded by JoJo shit. That's the way JoJo works. JoJo doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's full of plot holes. But I don't care, because the guy who makes JoJo doesn't care either. He's just writing forwards. He is focusing on telling a compelling story that's fun and enjoyable and maybe emotional right now in this moment. And maybe that doesn't make sense with whatever happened 2 years ago. But it doesn't have to. Because, like, so long as you don't question it, so long as you trust your audience that this is just something that's a good story and that they're going to enjoy it, then we can just say, whatever. Yeah, man, it doesn't matter. This move of, like, making Angel experience joy and then losing it tells a very compelling story that I really like. I really like this tragedy, and that wouldn't have happened if we had cared too much about Angel being unable to be happy and he was just his brooding self the entire season. And I like that they didn't care about that. I like that they just hand wave it with a joke, and that's it. That's all we need. We don't need to delve deeper into that. It's just like, whatever. Angel's going to be happy this season just to lose it. That's good. I'm very, very happy that that's the way it worked out. That is my preference, and that is a good story beat. Okay, let's talk about some other characters here. Gunn and Fred are dating now. I'm glad that Fred is a main cast member now, because she wasn't. She became a main cast member this season, and she's fantastic. Fred is awesome. I love Fred. Fred is good. And I love that there are certain moments in which Fred's like PTSD over being trapped in an alternate world and, you know, just living in a cave. Sometimes those like creep into the show. There is a moment in which they're talking about like a portal or whatever. I think it's after Connor he's thrown into a portal with Holt. They're talking about it and they're like, well, it's just a portal, you know? And Fred's reaction is completely the opposite. She's just like, oh my god, that's horrifying. And it's the thing in which like I think it's Gunn that like looks at her and he doesn't understand for a second, and then he's like, oh, okay. And it's this moment of like silent acknowledgement of the fact that Fred is somebody who really has this like still like emotional baggage over her reality of going to Berea and being trapped in an alternate dimension and living in a cave for 5 years. You know, that has to be very traumatic, and you can tell that she still has that trauma. It doesn't come up often, but there's a couple moments in which it does come up, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. It's really cool that there's that detail of trauma that characters have. We don't get to see that often, but whenever we do, it's really cool to me. And I really like that Fred does it. Fred is also just wonderful. I love her very much. She's amazing. I'm very glad she's here. But she starts dating Gunn. And before she started dating Gunn, there was a whole thing with, is Wesley gonna date Fred? I think they even make jokes about it of like, I thought you were gonna be with Wesley. And it's like, wait, why? Why do you think that? And the reason why we thought that is because Wesley and Fred was like a big thing for a while there. For like a while, like 2 or 3 episodes, we got to see how Wesley was crushing on Fred. And then at the last second, it is revealed that Gunn is also looking at Fred and going like, huh. And then that's what happens. You know, it just goes the Gunn direction. And I do feel this is the only part of this season that I felt weird about, that I kind of didn't like a little bit. And I think that this was the moment in the season in which like I slowed down watching episodes, and it's because this was the point that I wasn't feeling super cool with. And it's that we spent like an entire 1 or 2 episodes with like feeling the man pain of Wesley being rejected by Fred and Angel kind of being rejected, or not rejected, but like being kind of sidelined in favor of Gru. Because Gru came back, by the way, from season 2. Gruzolog, he came back. Because, like, Angel is having this realization that actually I think I like Cordelia. Which I actually like the way they handle that, because at first they made that allusion, like, very early on in the season. And then it remained unexplored for a long time. And after the whole, like, son thing happened, after Connor was born and they're just taking care of him, we actually get to revisit that, and we revisit it, and it's something that I kind of like the way that was handled, because it wasn't handled immediately. It was something that was hinted at the beginning, and I thought it was going to be handled immediately, and it wasn't. It was kind of put in the back, and it just is not happening for like 10 episodes. And that's something I really appreciated, because it gave me time to think about it, and it gave the characters time to like acclimate themselves to the idea. And I think it makes sense, because Angel was attracted to Buffy, and Cordelia is a pre-Buffy Buffy. But now Cordelia as she has existed in the show Angel, she has kind of become a Buffy. Because Cordelia represented this like trendy high school girl. Like that was her role. That was her character archetype, which is what Buffy supposedly was before the show starts. Before Buffy becomes the Slayer, she is this like trendy girl who doesn't care about anything else. And then she has to go through like hell. and then she develops as a character in that direction. And Angel becomes attracted to Buffy's like determination and fight that she has in transforming herself in the process. And Cordelia is doing the exact same thing in Angel. Like actually, Cordelia is the like trendy like girl who doesn't care about shit. But then after she becomes a member of Angel Investigations and she's going through everything that happens in Angel the show, and then she becomes the Oracle after God, what was his name? Doyle. After Doyle died, she becomes the Oracle and she's suffering for it. And she's doing all these things. She's sacrificing herself. And it's the thing in which, like, Angel starts to see how Cordelia is kind of becoming a Buffy. And he doesn't say this. Nobody says this. But I notice. And it's this thing in which, like, I don't think that's a bad thing. I can see how somebody would consider that to be a bad thing. And it's that, you're seeing your ex in your new crush. I can see how somebody would perceive that to be what is occurring. I don't think that is what is occurring. I think that Angel just has a type. And that type is Buffy. And Cordelia is becoming that type as well. So Angel is realizing, like, shit, I'm kind of developing a crush for her. So that's kind of cool. Because it makes sense to me. We have enough past history to understand why this would make sense. So it doesn't come out of nowhere because you understand. And it is also not handled immediately. So it gives you time to acclimate yourself with that idea. So that's cool. I like that. What I don't like is that when Gru shows up is the moment that Angel is about to have that conversation with Cordelia. And then Gru shows up and it becomes like an issue in between. And then Angel feels really sad about that. And it's also the same episode in which Fred and Gunn become a thing. So then Wesley feels really sad about that. And then the entire next episode is spent in seeing how these boys are sad about that. And I don't like that. And the reason why I don't like it is because, man, I don't give a fuck about your man pain TM of like the girl that I like doesn't like me. I lived through that already. I don't need to live through it again through the lens of these two guys that are our main cast. And like the thing is that if it was just one of them, I would be like, okay. But the fact that it's like everything is happening all at once, I'm like, it's too much. And it's not just too much because it's like annoying. It's also annoying because we spent like zero time on like Fred. And hearing what Fred feels about Wesley and Gunn. Fred and Gunn become an item, and we don't get to hear from Fred as to why would she want that. Like, we get to hear from Gunn a little bit why he crushes on Fred, why he's starting to look at Fred a little bit differently, and he's like, I kind of really like her. And we got to know why Wesley likes her, and why, and then we get to hear a lot of Wesley feeling sad over the fact that Fred doesn't want to be with him. But we spend like no time hearing what Fred feels or what Fred thinks. Instead, we are really focusing on Wesley just being sad because the girl I like doesn't like me. And I'm sitting here like, man, I don't care about what Wesley feels. I want to know what Fred feels, you know? And like, we do that, and then we also are doing the Angel feels sad or the fact that Cordelia doesn't like him. And I'm sitting here like, man, like, what are, like, no. Like, that is the only part of the season that I didn't like. Because it felt too concerned with the way that the male characters were feeling about a relationship that they felt somewhat entitled to. Like, not, okay, they didn't feel entitled to it, but it feels like the show felt like they were entitled to it. Because the show spends so much time just telling you, like, man, these guys are really sad because the girl they like doesn't like them. And it's like, what is the girl thing, you know? I don't give a fuck about this guy's thing. Why are we focusing so much on what they felt about something that didn't happen? And it really comes across to me like whoever made that decision, whoever was writing that, was like, man, the worst feeling in the world is when, like, the girl you like doesn't like you. But it's like, you're doing that by sacrificing the girl we're talking about as a character. Because now she's no longer a character. She's a status condition for the other guy who feels sad, because that is your focus. Your focus is not actually the woman in question. It's not Fred or Cordelia, it's the other two. And I'm sitting here like, that feels a little bit dehumanizing in a way that I don't like. So that's the only part of the season that I really didn't like. It felt weird, it felt forced, and it felt slightly offensive to me. That's the only part that felt bad to me, that I didn't like. Let's talk about Wesley while we're at this. Wesley has a bad season this season because Wesley, first of all, the girl he likes doesn't like him back, like I said, but he kind of tries to cope with that. But then he kidnaps Angel's child in a bogus translation of a prophecy, which makes him kind of the reason why all of the bad things that happen to happen. And then it makes them completely isolated because no one wants to talk with him anymore because, well, Angel wants to kill him. And the other people feel betrayed by him, or they felt like he didn't trust them, which he didn't. Honestly, like the truth of the matter is that he didn't go and talk to anybody because he felt isolated. He felt like he couldn't trust them, or he felt like he didn't want to bother them. He was going through this thing of like, well, the girl I like doesn't like me, so I'm not gonna talk to her. And I can't talk to Gunn because I just feel bad about that. And I can't talk to Lorne. I guess he could have talked to Lorne. Honestly, he could have. But he can't talk to Angel for obvious reasons. So he just decides to do everything by himself. It all goes bad. He remains completely alone. And then after he's completely alone, he keeps getting harassed by Lila. Which is interesting. Maybe we'll come back season 4 and Wesley's going to be part of Wolfram McCart. We'll see what happens. Also, Cordelia wasn't here when all of this occurred. That's the other thing. Maybe he could have talked to Cordelia, but she wasn't here. She was on vacation. I will say it is sad what's occurring to Wesley. It does make you feel sad for him because like he's had it the worst, honestly. Like he kind of has. He's completely isolated and you understand that he just wanted to do the thing that he perceived to be the right thing. The best thing that he could possibly do in the circumstance that he found himself in. He was genuinely just trying to do that. However, the way he went out about to do that is probably the worst way he could have chosen to do. And it all went to shit because of that. And it's one of those things where like Wesley was being manipulated by like 3 different forces. So it feels bad that he's ultimately the person that is suffering the most out of this because he didn't want to do any of that shit. He was being manipulated into doing all of that shit even though he didn't want to, and then everybody turns their back on him as a result of that. So he remains completely alone, completely betrayed by everything and everybody, including the world and the fates themselves, seemingly. Like, he almost died. And he does say this one thing that feels really sad when he said it. And it's that when Gunn goes to talk to him for the one episode where he just gives him alcohol, he says, you know the reason why I fought so hard to live, to come back? Because he got his throat slit. And he survived. And it's like, you know why I fought so hard to stay alive? Despite, dying and bleeding out. And he said, it's because I wanted to come back to my friends so I could explain to them what I did. And that feels so sad. Because the first thing that happens as soon as like they talk to him again, and not even talk because he can't talk when he's in the hospital, is that Angel is like, I know why you did what you did. Like, I understand. Like, I want you to understand that I know. We figure it out. We know why you did everything. And then he tries to kill him. And it's this thing of like, Wesley felt on some level like if he explained his position that his friends would understand. And they wouldn't hate him as much. Maybe they would feel conflicted, but they would ultimately understand because they are his friends. And that's not what happened. He comes back and everyone knows why everything happened, and they still don't care. They still push him away. Angel fucking tries to kill him. So it's a thing of like, it feels like a betrayal from Wesley's side as well. But it stings more because to them it feels like a betrayal of Wesley because Wesley went on about their backs doing something that he maybe should have conferred with somebody about, but he didn't. But to Wesley, it feels like a betrayal of friendship. Because he felt like the relationship that I have with my friends is one in which, like, if I just explain to them what happens, that they would understand. Well, they know what happens and they don't understand. Well, they understand, but they still don't care. They still want to kill you. So it's a situation in which, like, to Wesley feels like the friendship that I had with them was not as great as I thought it was. So that has to feel really sad. It really does have to feel that sad. So, like, I feel really bad for him, but I still believe that everything that he did was kind of the worst thing he could have chosen to do. Right? Like I still don't take his side on those decisions, but I also do feel bad that like he's completely alone now. And I don't know what direction his character is gonna go. Maybe he's gonna go to Wolfram and Hart. Who fucking knows at this point? So that's something. Gun. Really the only Gun episode that we had. I think there was one early in the season too that was about the like gang, because there was a different guy that came from the other coast. He was an asshole. Like that did happen early on in the season. But the episode that I really like is the episode which we find out that Gon, he bet his soul, not bet his soul, he set his soul as like a payment in order to get some kind of wish from like a casino, a demon casino. And we spent the entire episode not knowing what the wish was, just dealing with the debt and having to save Gon. And we do. But then we find out what the debt was. Why he went in debt for. Like, what was the thing that he wished for? And it was to repair his car. That's it. He just wanted to repair his car. And it's the thing of, like, Fred is like, are you fucking serious? That's it? And Gon, like, I understood it immediately. But then Gon just says it like, well, I didn't really think my life had any value at the time. I was just like, well, I'm just gonna fucking die tomorrow or whatever. You know, like he explains that, like, yeah, they're gonna collect my soul in like 7 years or something. Like, that's what I signed up for. I just figured I'd be dead by then. And it's the thing that to me felt so real, because like I know people like that. I have been people like that. Like the belief that like, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow is not real. You know, like what is the year 2030? The year 2030 is not real. That's never gonna happen. Like, we're all gonna die by that point. Looking at the state of the world, we're gonna fucking die. And if we don't die, I'm gonna die to some weird disease. Like, I'm probably gonna get cancer and die probably anyway. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. But then 2030 actually does happen. You know, like eventually that year actually does come to pass, and you're sitting here like, wait, hold on, I didn't think this was real. And now you kind of have to deal with the consequences of what you laid up before or failed to set up before. And Gun is living that, in that, like, yeah, I put my soul as payment to collect in 7 years, and I didn't think that 7 years would actually pass. I thought I would just be dead. And it's this thing of like, he's thinking that way in the past because he doesn't actually see his life as something that has much value. It's just like, yeah, we all die or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. But now that he's in the present, he is having this thing of like, I really like my life because I am really happy spending my time with Fred. I'm really happy spending my time with the people that are near to me, and especially Fred. So now he actually realizes that his life actually has value, that he actually wants to live. And now the debt collectors are showing up at his doorstep being like, hey man, you're gonna pay up, you're gonna die. And he's like, well, you don't want to die now. Now I actually enjoy things. Now life actually has value. But I really like that the story that we're telling with Gon is one in which like he truly didn't give a shit until this year, in which he started caring, because he started having things to care about around him. So that's something that really changes him. And I really look forward to Gun in the future and what he's going to be like in the future. You know, how different is he going to be exactly now that he actually has something worth living for? Maybe he won't be as reckless, as cynical, as, dry, honestly. What is the word I'm looking for? It's not dry. It's like, I guess having like a dry sense of humor. Kind of, or not dry, but just like a little bit nihilistic, fatalistic. Like, he's the more like reality centered guy, like the most aware, and also not caring about the grim reality of things as some of the other characters in the show, I think. And maybe that will change a little bit more, you know? That would be fun to see. Cordelia, okay. Dude, Cordelia, I don't know what's going on with Cordelia. So, okay, what's going on with Cordelia is that her body was starting to fall apart because of the visions. But then it turns out that was actually Lila doing that to her. And I think she was doing so by using Tov from House MD again. Not Tov, sorry, Kudner, who was a caveman in Be or Bad, by the way. So a caveman from Be or Bad came to Angel and tried to fuck with... That was this season. It was very early on in the season, I think. So it feels like it was a different season. But he was fucking with Cordelia to make Cordelia's body just fall apart. And they figured out that that was what it was, and it wasn't actually the visions. The visions just kind of making it worse. Later, we find out that actually the visions are actually taking the toll on Cordelia as well. Like, she's having this, like, headaches, and these reactions that she's having to the visions are getting worse, to the point in which, like, we find out that the visions are either going to kill her, or she has to pass them down to someone else. And she chooses to not pass him. Was it pass him down, or was it to just completely give up on him? Regardless, before Cordelia gave up on the vision, she was like, well, I'm just gonna keep taking them. And specifically because she had a vision of somebody that she wanted to save, and that's when she like couldn't communicate with people. And the entire episode, she was like, I want to communicate with people and tell them the vision I saw so they can save that person. And then she's like, well, I'm not, I want to keep my powers because I need to save this person. I need to save these people. So it is kind of this proof of Cordelia being heroic and sacrificing herself, because she's like, I don't care what happens to me. Like, they're literally telling her your head is going to explode, and she's like, it's fine. I just have to save this person. And it's like, okay. In doing so, they go like, well, there's another solution. And when I mean they, I mean Skip. Skip, fantastic fucking character. He's my favorite side character in Angel we've ever had. I fucking love Skip. But Skip tells Cordelia, okay, we can turn you into a demon, and a demon could have the like the physicality to take on the vision. So then Cordelia's like, well, why didn't you tell me that sooner? Okay, I'll become a demon, fuck it, like, demon me up. And they do. They turn her into a demon. We don't know exactly what kind of demon. She just glows sometimes. And she's having visions, and in having visions, she no longer hurts or is pained or anything. She just has them, and she can just tell the information to people. Okay, cool. But then it is revealed in the final episode that Cordelia was kind of on probation by being given a lot of power by the powers that be, and they were just testing her to see how good of a person she was. And it turns out that Cordelia never abused her demon powers. She just kept using them for good. No matter how much power she actually had, she never actually utilized them for personal gain, other than to like survive once or twice, you know, because bullshit happens in Angel HQ every day. But she's never actually doing it for her own gain. She's just like, okay, I just want to use these powers to help people. So because of that, Skip shows up in the final episode, and it's like, okay, girl, you're gonna become Jesus now. You're gonna go to heaven. You're gonna ascend to a different plane of existence. And Cordelia's like, what? No. But then it's like, no, you actually have to. So then Cordelia ascends to heaven, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. I mean, there's a whole story with Guru, but Guru, I like Guru showing up because I like Guru just in general. I think he's a cool character. But Guru is here just to kind of make Cordelia realize that Cordelia actually loves Angel, and the way that develops is tragedy again, because Angel is going to meet up with Cordelia so they can talk about this, but Cordelia time stops, Sawardos, and then becomes Jesus on the way, and then she doesn't get to go to Angel. Instead, Angel encounters Connor and is tossed at the bottom of the ocean. So bad stuff happening all around for everybody. And also, oh God, okay. But just to wrap up the Cordelia stuff, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't. Because, like, I need to see, like, okay, I will say this. If Cordelia doesn't come back in any way, shape, or form, if she's just gone now from the show, I don't think I would like that. That feels narratively unsatisfactory to me. It just feels like sudden or nowhere. But if she comes back as like God or whatever, like, she's not gonna be a human anymore, but she appears again, maybe in a couple of instances, maybe not every episode, but just like she's a character that we can like visit or something like that, or she can appear at a time of need. Like, I feel like that would be okay. I would be okay with that. But if Cordelia is just like gone from the main cast now, then that would feel weird for me. Like, it feels like unsatisfactory that Cordelia just like slowly ascends into heaven and that's it, you know? I do like the tragedy of them not being able to confirm the feelings for one another. I do think that that's cool. I like the tragedy, but ultimately, I think that as a character exit, I don't like it. So I'm hoping that that's not a character exit. That's what I will say. Lorne hangs out in Angel HQ the entire season because they blow up his bar again with Holtz. Holtz blows up his bar. And honestly, Lorne is the coolest guy because Lorne doesn't really hold it against them. The fact that they keep blowing up his bar. Like, he doesn't hold it against them. And that's really cool. He's such a cool guy because it is ultimately their fault every time. Even if they're not doing it themselves, it is their fault. So I'm glad that Lorne is like, you know what? I like these guys and they're doing good. They're doing genuinely good. And he sticks by them. And like, he moves in with them. He hangs out with them. And he becomes a regular the entire season. Not because we go to the bar to get to hear like some kind of like emotion reading or whatever. He just hangs out with us. He's like a cast member. He's cool. But at the end of the season, he decides, I'm going to leave. And I was afraid that Connor was going to fucking kill him, but he didn't. He just leaves. So Lorne is gone now. And it sounds like Lorne is just going to be gone now. he's out of the main cast, and that's sad because Lorne is like one of the best fucking characters in the show. I love Lorne. Lorne is amazing. So I'm sad to see him go, but ultimately I don't think I have much to say about him this season, other than I just really like him being part of the main cast. Not just a place of interest that we visit, but like actually just a main cast member. He's hanging out with us. He's like Connor's nanny. He's really cool. I also like that like one of the reasons why he said he was leaving was because he felt sad or like kind of betrayed by Connor, because he was like, I really care about that child, and now he's like a massive racist and he hates me. And it's like, I really cared about him. Like, I was really taking care of that child, and now this is what's happening, and it's like, that hurts. So he just wants to leave because it hurts him. And I really like that reason. I really like Lorne. Lorne's cool. My highlight of the season is honestly fucking Holtz. Is Holtz and Justine and whatever they got going on. I love Holtz. Holtz is the best. Holtz is awesome because Holtz is this like gray area character that like he's an antagonist for sure. But he's an antagonist that you fully understand because what Angelus did to him makes sense that Holtz would be the person that he is. And it also makes sense that Sergeant would go to Holtz and time travel him to the future. And now that Holtz is here, it's like, okay, this is what we're doing. But I think the moment that Holtz really grabbed me is the moment that Holtz, like, he pardons Connor. He doesn't kill him, like when he's a baby, I mean. And instead, he decides to do his own thing. Sergeant is like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, I'm doing my own thing. And what he does is that he goes and searches for people who have been like victims of loss by vampires, because he believes, and he's kind of correct in assuming this, that what he needs is not like brawn. What he needs are people that are dedicated to the cause. And people that are dedicated to the cause are people that are in the exact same boat as he is, which is, you too have known loss because of these like fanged demons. We're gonna band together and we're gonna get our vengeance together. So he goes to Justine and he gives her a purpose to live. They go and do the same for a bunch of other people, but none of them are that important. It's mostly just Justine. And I love that, because what ends up occurring on the Justine side of things is that Justine kind of becomes codependent on Holtz and Holtz's ideas. And what's fascinating about this is that Holtz is going 110% into whatever the fuck he's cooking. And he's doing so by having this belief in like the human spirit. And the human spirit, specifically regarding vengeance, is because like the fact that he was like, I don't need fighters. I need people that are dedicated. Like he understands the people with the willpower, the people that are going to rise through. So that's why he seeks Justine. And he doesn't manipulate Justine. You gotta understand that maybe he's a little bit manipulative, but like he's not. He actually just wants people that are in the same boat as him. And he succeeds. But on the Justine side of things, Justine becomes unhealthily codependent on Holtz and the idea and the mission, to the point that after Holtz is gone, she starts to have a crisis of faith of feeling maybe used by Holtz, but she takes it out on Angel. She's like, we're gonna still go and try to kill Angel. And they fail, but Justine is going super hard on the mission, because by carrying on the mission, her and Holtz are still together, instead of accepting that Holtz is gone. But then Holtz comes back. And what's so interesting about that is that Holtz comes back and he's a completely different person. He doesn't have that vengeance and vitriol and hatred anymore. He's just like, I just want Connor to be happy. But Justine, the person that Holtz created, is still this ball of vengeance and vitriol, and she's the one that still tells Connor what to do and to go and get revenge on Angel by fucking lying to him. Which I'm still not sure if that occurred or not, if there's some shenanigans that, but let's just assume that that's what happened. Let's just assume that Justine actually just still was this like hardcore believer in the cause, and that's why she convinced Connor to go and fucking toss Angel in the ocean. And I think that that's like, the more I think about it, the more I like it. The more I actually kind of like it, because it makes it so that Holtz, after having a lifetime of raising a child and understanding that love is more important, now Justine, which is an ember of Holtz when he was alive, she's still carrying on all of the like toxic beliefs that Holtz had. She was a devout follower of Holtz when Holtz was awful, but now that Holtz has died being good, Justine is like, I don't accept that. And she continues to do her own thing. I think that that's kind of cool. I really like that. unhealthily codependent into carrying on the memory of somebody that you truly loved and care about by doing things in their name, but it's not what they wanted, which is a fundamental misunderstanding of what they were about when they died. I really like that. I really, really like that. I really understand it. I have been in that position before. I have been there before. It sounds very specific, but I have been there before. So I kind of really like that if that is the direction Justine is taking. And I really like Justine as a character just in general before any of this happened, and now I kind of like her more if that's the direction we're going. Okay, let's talk about Lila. Lila, this entire season, is way more pathetic than she was before, and I really like that. Because, like, this season we didn't have Lindsay at all. Lindsay left before previous season, so we're done with Lindsay. But Lila is here still, and we introduced 2 more Wolfram and Hart dudes that are people that Lila to, lock horns with, which is her superior, and also that other guy who sucks, who keeps being an asshole to Lila. Really, the entire time he's like, well, wouldn't it be bad if this were to happen? Oh, I don't know. And then he like walks away, and then he keeps baiting Lila into doing shit, and it always works, and it's really funny. But Lila to me is a character that I'm starting to like more than I did before, but that is exclusively with the condition, with the asterisk that Lila has to be pathetic. Lila has to be pathetic. I like Lila when she fails at everything. I like Lila whenever she's doing a cool girl boss move, and then immediately they grab her by the throat and she's like, oh god, I'm gonna die. And then it's like, okay, you're still around. I'm not gonna kill you this time, but you better fucking behave. And then she's like, fucking, I'm gonna show you what it's like, dude. What do you say? Nothing! I'm gonna show you fucking shit. Like that is really fun for me. I really like a character who's just like, she believes she's hot shit. She believes she's the coolest and the greatest and the best, and she can do all of these like hashtag girl boss moves. And then immediately when she tries to do anything, it's like she's immediately almost about to die. She's always failing, and it's always something that makes me very happy. Because I like a character like that. I like that type of character. Especially if it's a female character. I really like women who are failures in media. I really like that. Because I feel like when it comes to female characters, you have the traditional female character who's, nurturing or whatever. That's boring and bad, actually. It's just actually bad. That's bad. It's boring. And also bad, by the way. It's just bad, actually. But then you have the almost like fully going the opposite direction type of character, female character, which is the hashtag girl boss, which is like, I'm so good and I'm so powerful and I'm bad actually, and I'm gonna get you. And I like that also feels disingenuous because it feels like a response to another stereotype by creating a different stereotype, which is the opposite stereotype, which is still a stereotype. You're still creating an image rather than engaging with a woman character as just simply a woman, which is a different type of guy. It's just a guy. There's different flavors of guys in the world. You have a guy and then you have another guy. You have men and you have women. There's no difference there that you should really focus on. But media loves to create this like stereotypes to put women in. And we don't have enough like failures in media, I don't think. And whenever I see one, I really like it. Whenever I see a woman who fails, I think that that's cool. I think that there should be more representation for failure women in media. So whenever I see one, I'm like, hell yes, I love her. And Lila is starting to really kind of become more endearing to me in that sense. Because Lila, as just somebody who is bad and succeeds, really doesn't work for me. I like Lila trying to succeed and failing at it because that makes it more fun. And she can succeed a couple times. I'm not gonna say that she has to fail every time. She can succeed a couple times, just enough for her to still be a threat. That's still good. Just so long as we keep carrying on the idea of Lila being kind of a failure and a mess of a person. Because she is. She's a mess of a person. And I like that. I like Lila being a mess. So this season, Lila, I enjoyed her a lot, actually. Because after Lindsay is gone, Lila becomes our main Wolfram and Hart person to follow. And that means that we get to see her trying to measure herself to a lot of stuff that she believes she's capable of, but she's not. So she's so overconfident, and then she gets punished for it. And it's kind of satisfying to see, honestly, because she's trying to be bad and then she fails at it. And that's good. Okay, that's it for Lila. Let's talk about Connor. Okay. also known as Steven. I don't know which name to call him. I call him Stoner for a while, and maybe I'll just call him that, Stoner. So Stoner, he is Angel and Darla's son. I don't know why he exists. He has superpowers. I don't know the extent. I don't know if he's delusional at the end or if he's simply being manipulated by Justine or Justine's evil twin sister or Wolfram and Hart or all of the above. I have no fucking idea. Maybe Holtz. Who knows? Maybe this was Holtz's plan as well. Who fucking knows about that? I don't think it was, but it would... I don't know, that's still on the table, I suppose. That could be the case. But Connor becomes a character only in the final 3 episodes because that's when he shows up as a teenager. And I kind of like what we're doing with Connor because Connor is an alien. He doesn't know anything about the world of humans. And he spends like 2 full episodes like trying to understand what it's like to hang out in the world of humans. Most of his first episode is spent in that. And he immediately understands what it's like to have a crush on a girl and for that girl to die. So he's like speedrunning the human experience of like, you know, the highest highs and then the lowest lows. You know, like he tasted an Oreo for the first time on camera and he was like, this is good shit. And I'm like, hell yeah, man. Like, imagine eating your first Oreo, you know? Like when you eat like your 1000th Oreo, you're kind of tired at that point. But imagine eating the first one. You know, like you have to feel like the world is good in that moment for that brief amount of time. But he also really loves Holtz, his dad, that he perceives to be his dad because he raised him. And Holtz, it's like you have to love your other dad. And Connor's like, no, I don't want to love my other dad. You told me he was evil and he killed your whole family. It's like, well, he did do those things, but he's also your father and you still can hang out with him. And Connor starts entertaining the idea until Holtz dies. And then he's like, actually, fuck it. I hate my other dad. So we're having this like daddy issues with Connor going on. And that's the part that to me is less interesting than the idea that Connor is a baby that lived in a hell world for 20 years and then comes back here, doesn't know anything. And he also kind of time travel really because he did, right? Like he was a baby 2 weeks ago and now he's an adult. So that's another thing. He doesn't understand shit about the world. He's a superhuman. He might be delusional. Like all of these are elements that to me are interesting, that he's very malleable. He's very, easily to be manipulated. He's also very emotionally unstable. He's going through a lot of changes. That's all very interesting. The daddy issues part is not the interesting part to me. But that is something that also adds to the character and really makes it so that that becomes a conflict. So I'm very interested into seeing where Connor is going to head because the way Angel Season 3 ended, and I haven't said this yet, but the way Season 3 of Angel ends is really just like where everything is left hanging. It's all cliffhanger. You know, like Angel's at the bottom of the ocean, Cordelia is going to heaven and becoming Jesus. Lauren is gone. Connor is in a boat. I don't know if he's delusional or he's being manipulated. And regardless, I don't know where he's going to go now. He might go to Wolfram and Hart. He might just... I don't know. I don't fucking know what Connor's going to do. But he's now a superhuman stuck in a world he doesn't understand. And he's all by himself. And he's easily manipulated. Wesley is by himself. Maybe he'll join Wolfram and Hart. And Gunn and Fred are like, I don't know what's happening. Nobody's answering my calls. So it's all cliffhanger all around. So I am really eager to start season 4 because more than Buffy season 6, Buffy season 6 does have resolution. Angel season 3 is just like, I don't fucking know. It's all up in the air. Like it feels like there should be another episode, but no. So I have to watch next season of Angel and I have to do it soon because I need to know where exactly the fuck we're going. Okay. That's going to be it for the Angel cast, I think. I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say. I really like the season. I really, really do. Season 2 felt like we were having kind of a plot, but in hindsight, the plot of season 2 almost feels like it was setting up season 3 by having Darla get pregnant. And I don't know if that was the intention. Because of the Pailia thing, people explained it to me and I understood better later that, like, okay, you're going for an idea, a theme here. And that's good. But the Pailia thing really does feel like an outlier. It feels like, okay, it doesn't feel like it fits with anything that made sense with the previous thing that was happening in the season. It's kind of like a restless in that way, but like, you know, depending on who you ask, his words are better. But season 3 feels a lot more cohesive, but also a lot more hectic because you have no idea where anything is going to go. And the characters in the show who are planning things don't know where it's going to go either. And it's all crazy. And I love it. And there's so many moving pieces. And it's all maximum tragedy all the time. And I really like it. It's good. Season 3 is good. I like season 3 of Angel. I'm really enjoying my time with season 3. Like this final like several episodes of season 3. Like after the halfway point, after we dealt with like the, you know, like when Connor gets kidnapped and we're dealing with the aftermath of that, like that's when the season really like locked in for me. I really like that. So yeah, okay. I think that's going to be it for season 3 Angel cast. Again, you can watch the entirety of Angel season 3, my reactions, watch alongs to it, on the YouTube playlist of Angel season 3 that's going to be on my channel. So click on my channel, click on playlist, and you can see Angel watch along season 3. And again, if you look at the video descriptions, you can find a place in which you can watch those without needing to have your own episode to pull up. Wink. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. That's going to be it. For season 4 of Angel, again, the way I do this is that it's going to be a Patreon exclusive until I finish it, and then it's going to be up on YouTube like I just explained. If you want to watch season 4 of Angel as I am watching it, which is at the same time as Buffy season 7, you should join in the Patreon. That's going to be it. Bye-bye. Take care. And if you would like to be there for Angel season 4, check out the Patreon. Link in the description below, pop up on the screen, support the channel. I'm also going to be starting Buffy season 7 there. So yeah, check that out. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Take care.